There we go. Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for attending the fall's first session of the Mental Wellness Talking Circle. Here with the American Indian College Fund, we try to prioritize mental health of our scholars. This types of work is directly from y'all, honestly. When you complete your survey, we listen, we read through it, we spend many days dissecting every single piece of that data, and mental health is a common factor that keeps coming up. So we're happy to provide these talking circles here. Jacqueline Selby here is a certified mental health counselor. She will be hosting these talking circles throughout the semesters. Every Tuesday, 6:30 Mountain Time, that's Denver time. So feel free to join again if you should see fit. So how these sessions work is that a college success coach team member will be at the beginning, we'll do the introductions, welcome everybody, and then we hand it over to Jacqueline. And I bounce, I dip, I'm out. So you guys are free to talk and discuss and go through this very healing process that is your mental health. This session is recorded. And so what we do is that we dissect the recording. We only keep Jacqueline's points of talking. Anything a scholar, a student states is edited out by our team. So we just hear Jacqueline's voice, and as she's going through the process of these mental health techniques with you, we'll only keep that part. So do feel, even though the session is recorded, please do feel free to speak openly, however your heart decides. All this information will be deleted. We're only going to keep Jacqueline's techniques. The video is then posted on our YouTube page for other scholars to go through and listen in, and also go through these techniques on their own. So I do want to turn it over to Jacqueline now, and after she introduces herself, I will kindly exit, and then when y'all are set to end, I will jump back on, and then we'll wrap it up with any questions or concerns you may have for me. So yes, please welcome Jacqueline Selby.
Yay. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Salabai. Kiani Nishla Tachi Nibashish Chain. Tobahan Edishiche do Twitterji Edishanala Akutan Slan. I am originally from the Lower Greasewood area here in Arizona. I was born on the Navajo Nation and grew up in the little town called Winslow, Arizona. And I am currently living in Flagstaff, Arizona. So a little bit more about myself. I first and foremost, I'm a parent. I'm a mom to 4 daughters. We come from a blended family, so I have 3 daughters who are my own, and then one who's I took in under my wing, but she, of course, has another family of her own. And so my oldest daughter is 21. My youngest daughter is 4. And so I have a wide range of girls that I work with every single day. And then, I love doing a lot of different things. I love crafting, I love cooking, I love hiking, I love, just being with family and laughing. And you'll see a lot of that in the presentation that I provide. I really enjoy our humor and what it brings for us and what it gives to us. Because a lot of the times, there's a lot of hard topics that we deal with every single day. And when we talk about self-care, which we'll talk about later on, and when we talk about mental health, it becomes really heavy. And sometimes we just need that outlet to laugh it out a little bit. And so my experience with my career, I've been a social worker for 15 years and probably 15 plus, because I tend to I don't keep track. And then like all of a sudden it's like 2023, and then all of a sudden it'll be 2027 in like no time. So possibly about 15 years social worker. And then I have 10 years experience with suicide prevention, as well as grant writing and grant implementation. And so the work that I do and the discussions that I do, I mainly focus on children, youth, and families. And so that's my passion. That's where I focus on. Whatever comes to me that's related to children, youth, and families, that's what I do. And so I try to be an advocate. I try to be a pusher of change, positive change when it comes to those topic areas. So tonight we're going to go into talking about the wellness talking circles. So I'm not too sure. Are you all new with us this year? I'm not too sure how that works.
Yeah.
You're new? Okay. What about you all? Are you all new this semester to these wellness talking circles? I see Alicia, Stacy, Henrietta, Brandon, Megan, Shannon, Bentley, Davina, Candace, Anne, Morgan. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my screen, and bear with me because sometimes I can't see the chat when I'm sharing my screen. And so if you want to just shout out what you're saying or doing or thinking, that's totally fine with me. Let's see. Now, so one of the things that I am trying to work on is how do I organize everything on my screen? That's the question. Okay, wellness talking circles. So we've been doing these wellness circles for a number of semesters, and I've been providing this platform for you all to sit and discuss important topics related to mental health. And a lot of the times these talking circles were starting to get heavy, because there's so many big topic areas such as grief and depression and anxiety, being overwhelmed with school and work and kids, and just those big giant feelings that we have in our everyday life. And so what I decided to do was, we're going to kind of slow it down a little bit, and we're going to go through some definitions first in the beginning, make it a little bit light, use a little bit of humor, and then we'll slowly go into some discussions, and we'll keep it strength-based and positive. But there will be a time when we go into a little bit more deeper discussions about, say, depression. I know a series we did last semester, we talked about grief. We talked about what is grief and why am I experiencing these feelings and what do they look like? And so just a disclaimer that everyone doesn't feel the same things at the same time. And some of you might experience things differently, and that's okay. And so I want to put this out there that, when we come together in this space, that we are making sure that we're safe among each other, right? And that comes with certain types of guidelines. And we'll go through those in more detail as we get to a couple slides down the road. But first, I want to talk about the purpose. And so we all have a purpose, right? You hear that in a lot of different discussions. What is your purpose in life, right? They always ask you that. What is your purpose in this world? What is your purpose in your role as a mother or a father or the daughter, as a student, right? So we always have that perspective when we go into certain things and we go into certain settings. And even when we go into our ceremonial settings, we have certain roles and we have certain guidelines, we have certain purposes that we have to keep in mind, right? And so for today's gathering, the gathering of relatives is meant to discuss topics pertaining to mental health wellness, specifically stress management and self-care. This gathering will provide an idea of these concepts and will give you useful tips to incorporate into your everyday college life. And so I'm going to start with this little bit of a video. It's called Meaning of Life. And for some of you who may watch cartoons or you have children, there's a cartoon called The Adventures of Gumball, I believe it's called. but my daughter watches this and it's so funny. I'm going to show a little clip, and he's talking to, just a little bit background. He's talking and he's like wondering, what is the meaning of life? So he's going around and he's asking everyone, like, what is the meaning of life? And they're giving them all these like big answers. And then he comes across these animals and he's like, what's the meaning of life? And the animals get eaten because they're going through the life cycle, right? The animals go through a certain type of life cycle, and that's basically their purpose, right? That's their role. And so he goes through that, and then they go through the food chain, and so each animal gets eaten. But then there's a one part in there that talks about, gives an explanation of the meaning of life. Let me switch over to that. And share that. Let me know if you can't hear this. I'm going to go back a little bit. Let me make sure I'm on the right. Share computer sound. Okay.
What are you doing?
Skipping stones. That's what people do when they're down.
Yeah, but not usually indoors.
What are you two doing?
We're bummed out because we can't find the meaning of life.
The meaning of life is to find yourself.
Have you found yourself?
Not yet, but I'm in here. Somewhere.
And how are we supposed to find ourselves?
To find yourself, you will need to walk through the hottest desert. Cross the most dangerous seas. Climb the highest mountain. Then, once at the top, you will know.
That's it! I know what I am! I'm lazy! I don't need to climb a mountain to figure that out!
What? Wait, you mean none of this was real?
Oh, that's too funny. They always crack me up. They're so funny. So that's kind of just a humorous approach to start thinking about, what is the meaning of life? What is your purpose here in life? And so these talking circles, I know, can you all see my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. So these talking circles are meant to start thinking about who you are as an individual. Who am I as an individual? Where do I come from? What have I been, what are my experiences? What have I tackled in my life? What is my role? What is my purpose? And I know each one of you are going through school, and you have a specific vision and a specific goal that you have in your mind, right? And so you're striving towards that. But each day we step into these arenas or these environments that might cause some difficult hardships or challenges that we might have to deal with, and that causes stress, right? And sometimes that causes, when you have a bigger amount of stress and you can't deal with that over time, it becomes more, right? It becomes something else, depression, anxiety, or whatever the labels are. We're not going to put the labels in there just yet, but we're going to talk about stress management. So that's kind of just a little bit of an off the topic type of humorous approach to thinking about what's your purpose. And so today's guidelines, there's a movie called Fatherhood, and he's like talking to his daughter, and his daughter, they're both like, rules? We don't need no stinking rules. But in reality, we all need rules, right? We all need guidelines. We all need some sort of, I don't want to say a boundary that keeps us safe, correct? we need that to ensure that we're trusting of ourselves and we're trusting of one another. And so in today's discussion, I really want to emphasize that whatever is shared here is held in confidential, high confidentiality. I know that Indian country is, when you look at it, it's pretty small. And a lot of us travel around, whether it's in the powwow circuit or the training circuit or IHS conference circuit. You know, we get to know each other and we get to meet each other. And so make sure that whatever is shared here stays here and that information is not shared with anyone else. Be respectful of other individuals' thoughts. You know, my thoughts might not align with some of your thoughts, and that's okay. And your thoughts might not align with mine, but we're going to be respectful of each other. We're going to not be judgmental, but we're going to have an open mind and we're going to take that information into consideration. I always welcome people to speak. If you all want to say something that's you know, sparked your thoughts, and you're welcome to share something. And whatever that is, you know, just keep in mind, no judgment, be open-minded. And I know Zoom is difficult to speak on sometimes, so, you know, we'll try to have each one of you speak one at a time and not over each other, because that can become frustrating. And lastly, it's okay to laugh. You know, that laughter is good medicine. It's, you know, it's rejuvenating, it's empowering. And sometimes it just takes our mind off of, you know, all that stuff we deal with every single day. So those are the guidelines. I feel deeply for a lot of those topics. And so when it comes to a session like this, that's only an hour and a half, sometimes I have to hold myself back because some of those topic areas can be really heavy and it can probably take us into 3 hours, you know? And so I'm really happy that you brought up the importance of education, because what I was told, I know you all have different stories and different teachings that were brought down from your parents and your grandparents, but you know, some of the things that my grandfathers would say is that, you know, you go to school and you learn as much as you can because that's what you're going to use to build your life. And my mom would always say, you know, keep going, you know, it's not that hard, just keep going. And there's so many, you know, frustrations, so many struggles, and so many things that just come at you, you know. I'll just give you examples, you know, just, you know, being a single parent and just, you know, having to work odd-ended jobs, or Walmart or Target, or trying to find that next job that will at least help you pay the bills a little bit more, you know. But everything that I looked for wasn't enough. So like, what was out there is education, right? How do I build myself so that I can build a future for my children? That was always in my mind, is how do I do that? And so it was a struggle, blood, sweat, tears. I remember sitting there in my master's degree program, you know, writing out that 35-page paper and just like defeated, you know? And so, but everything that everyone said to me just kept coming back to my mind, you know, to keep going, keep going, keep going. You can do this. And one thing that I always hold near and dear to my heart is that someone was talking to me about, you know, historical trauma and everything that we experienced as Native peoples. You know, we've been assimilated, you know, things were taken away from us, whether that was our culture or language. You know, boarding schools were implemented, reservations we were forced into, and, you know, the cutting of our hair. And so some of those things, when I think about that, and the person was saying that the only way you're going to fight back is if you get an education. And that right there is your medicine to teach you, not to teach you, but to show you a better way and to help you combat those, I want to say, monsters that are out there. And so I think my calling was to, and my purpose, like you were saying, Stacy, was, to help the people. And that's basically what I think that I'm here for, is not only to, of course, raise my children, but also to help my people and help the community that I live in. And so that, yeah, I could go on and on about that. But the other part that you brought up was, building that relationship, building that sense of being a part of something, that sense of belonging. And that's kind of why we wanted to do these talking circles, is how do we create a time and a space where we get to hear our language, where we get to hear, where I get to say where I'm from, where I get to say, I am part of, I'm going to take Terry's example, the Gila River Indian community. And she's Akamo and Tohono O'odham, and she's enrolled in the Tohono O'odham Community College. And so when you say that, you're giving power to yourself and you're putting that out into the universe. And it feels good, right? It feels great to say that I am a part of this. Can you all put in the chat your degree program, or, your area of expertise? Like, I don't know, it could be, like mine would be social work, emphasis in children, youth, and families. If you could put that in the chat, and so we can look at that and take a look at that right now and start building the sense of, I want to say, community, where you start to understand, like, hey, Brandon's in so-and-so, and so am I have an interest in that. Or Candace is over there and, across the country, and she's learning the same thing I am. Maybe, I'll message her real quick and, get some information from her about how she's doing in her program or what year she's in. It can really start to build some of the links and the networks to help us throughout our program. When I say links and networks, that's really important, when not only to building like a friendship, but also in your career. You'll be surprised. Like I said, Indian country is small, and reach out to different people, get some information, and be like, okay, I remember that person's from Red Lake, and I'll remember her name. 5 years down the road, you might be in your program, you might be having a career, you might be out at a training, at IHS conference. Just kidding. You might be somewhere where you meet this person again, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that person. Where do I remember this person's name? And it's happened to me so many times. I've come across people from 5 years that I met at a training in a little town in, New Mexico or something, and I meet them years later. And so go ahead and put those in the chat so we can start looking at who has similar pathways. And maybe you might be interested in one of those colleges and you can ask some questions, or you might be a similar tribe and you might be related. I know we had someone on here last year, and they found out they were related through chat. It was so funny. We were like, oh my God, that's my cousin. Okay, let's see. Culinary arts, awesome. Paralegal or mass communication, such as broadcasting or journalism, awesome. Business administration, general studies, and also heading into natural resources and wildlands firefighting, business administration, health, hotel and restaurant administration, MBA dual with healthcare administration, tribal governance and business management. Cool. Early childhood education, nursing, business admin, and pursuing masters in HR management. and electrical engineering, computer information systems, and life sciences. Awesome. That's awesome. So you see some of the similarities that you're seeing in here. And so some of you have similar pathways, and you could really maybe take a name down, maybe ask for an email, like, hey, you know, if I have a question about something, this person could possibly be, you know, helpful to me. Environmental science and natural resources, and Diné studies, language, and leadership. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Take note. I always do that whenever I'm meeting new people. I really like to know what similarities I have with them. Okay, we're gonna move on. Time check. It is 6:13 and we have about 45 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna go into mental health. I want to ask the question first. If you all could put in your thoughts in the chat. How many of you know about mental health? Without reading the definition, how many of you know about mental health? You could say, I've heard of it. I know a little bit.
Maybe your state of mind. Maybe. You know, if you're depressed or
Your state of mind.
too much stress. Too much stress can affect your mental health.
Nice. Have you heard anything outside of this discussion, Stacey, about mental health?
I actually had my class last semester about mental health, so
Nice.
it was actually kind of a hard class.
Yeah. I bet you learned a lot of information.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's Anne says, I think so. Bentley, a bit. Candace, I heard a little bit about it. Shannon, I think I do. Erica, not as much as I would like to. Alicia, I've heard of it and have attended some trainings. And Stephanie, Stephanie's introducing herself. Is from Navajo tribe and live in northern New Mexico and attend Arizona Technical University in Cisnas, Arizona. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you for being here, Stephanie. So there's a little bit of understanding of what mental health is. And a lot of the time, we don't know what mental health is. You know, sometimes it's very stigmatized that, oh, it's just to talk about crazy people, or, oh, it's just those people who are in the psych ward at the hospital, right? No, that's completely wrong. So mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with stresses of life, realizing their abilities, learn well and work well, and contribute to their community. So basically, how you handle everyday life, how you handle life, how do you cope with life? That's basically it. So you have a good understanding of what mental health is, and there's a lot more that goes into it. We're going to take a little bit of time to talk about who you are. So mental health is basically just a component of who you are. And I should have put the medicine wheel in here that I use all the time. Imagine a medicine wheel. You know, you have the 4 quadrants. And I like to use that because when we talk about Indigenous health, Indigenous well-being, I like to refer back to the medicine wheel and think about ourselves in terms of our emotional, spiritual, emotional, and physical being, right? We're not just a physical person. We're not just a mental person. We're not just a spiritual person, right? We have all these different layers that comprise us of who we are. And so when you go to the doctor, you know, they're looking at your one piece of you. They're looking at your physical health, right? But that might be linked into something that happened that was traumatic to you 10 years ago, right? And that's still affecting you at that time. And through the course of the years has come to affect your physical being and might in turn affect your spiritual being, because you're asking God or creator or whoever you pray to, why did this happen to me? And why weren't you there for me? You know? And so it really does cause a lot of disruption when someone is unwell or who's sick, and it impacts all those different areas. And so when we talk about self-assessment, I want to go into this a little bit deeper, and I want you to take the time to think about some of these areas that you see within yourself. And so sometimes this is pretty easy, and it's just like you jot down a little bit of things here and there, or you can take it really deep. It's up to you. We're all on a different healing journey. That's okay. And we all heal, and we all have different coping skills, and that's okay. But we have to all come to realize and understand that there are positive coping skills and there are negative coping skills. And the way we cope is a choice, right? It's a choice. I can choose to cope with something in a positive way by talking to someone, picking up the phone and calling my sister and saying, hey man, I just had a really bad day. Do you have 15 minutes? I can talk to you just to decompress before I take it out on somebody else, you know? Or is it a negative way and saying, calling up my friend and saying, hey, let's go chill. And what does chilling mean? It can mean many different things, right? It can mean alcohol, it can mean drugs, it can mean smoking, it could mean sex, it could mean anything, right? And so what are those positive and healthy coping skills? So we're going to get into the self-assessment. So I like to use the analogy of a basketball. So if you look at the basketball, it's broken up into 8 different parts, right? So where the lines are moving, there's 8 different sections. Do you see that? And if you take a look at ourselves a little bit deeper in the Western perspective, you think about the 8 components of the wellness wheel. So in the Western perspective, we're divided up into 8 different areas. And so that's the 8 different areas are occupational, social, physical, spiritual, intellectual, emotional, financial, and environmental. And so when you go through and you think about yourself in all of these different areas, there's a lot of things that come out, right? So I'm gonna use the whiteboard here in a minute and talk about some of these things, and we're gonna talk about how we see ourselves as soon as I figure out how to stop this. So how many of you have done a self-assessment lately?
She almost do one every day.
Good point. A self-assessment, if you are practicing, I know a lot of different tribes have, certain protocols and the way that they pray. I'm going to speak specifically for Navajo. For Diné, when I wake up, I have my positive intentions that I say when I'm going to start my day, right? And that includes prayer. And so my positive intentions are including my mental well-being and my physical well-being, whether that's saying what I'm going to do during the day and what I hope to achieve. And it might include running, right? It might not, depending on what I'm doing. And so when I go through my day, I'm taking little sections of my day, morning, mid-afternoon or afternoon, towards the mid-afternoon, evening time, and then at night. And so when I come back at night, and I'm actually sitting down and I'm resting and I'm thinking to myself, what did I do today? Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, what did I do today? Because there's so many things I did, right? And I'm like, okay, I did this, and yeah, I did that, and I talked to so and so, and I hooked this person up with resources, and I helped this person. And I'm like, yeah, today was a good day. I did all these good things. Did I achieve the goal that I wanted to achieve? Taking that self-assessment of my time. Was I productive? Did I reach my goal? Yes, it was a good day. What do I do tomorrow? Oh, I got to remember, I got to take that piece and I got to put it into tomorrow because I got to focus on that, right? Or I got to take it into next week and I got to remember that. Someone jot it down. So each day we have all these different pieces that we're trying to think about. They're both good and bad. And so we're putting those into different times and days. And you do that throughout your studies and with your time. But looking at the self-assessment, that's a part of, especially in recovery, like you're saying, Stacy, is you start to think about your whole being and what, say, I'll use my example this morning, walking in, I say my positive intention and I do my job. So that's my occupational part of me. Was I successful in my job today? Did I do everything I was going to say I did? What does my to-do list look like? It's like 10 long. Did I check off 5? Yeah, that's pretty good. What can I do better? Maybe tomorrow I'll organize my space a little bit better, And then social. Was I social? Did I go outside and socialize and talk with people? Yes, I did. I saw my mom, I talked to her. We had a good conversation. Was there any arguments? Yesterday there was, today there wasn't. So today was a good day, right? I'm proud of myself because I didn't argue. Physical. Did I do my physical exercise? No, I didn't. Okay. When do you have time for your physical exercise? What does your physical health look like? Do I need to cut back on some of the sweet stuff? I notice I've been drinking a little bit more coffee than usual, and I need to kind of cut back. And remember what the doctor said, cut down on that coffee. I'm like, okay, I got to stop doing that. Spiritual. Did I talk to Creator today? Yes. And what does that look like? Do I need to improve a little more? Do I need to take time out? Do I need to do something, whether that's ceremonial, or do I need to talk with an elder? What does that look like for you? Intellectual. Did I read today? Yes, I read today. Did I read? Did I do what I needed to do? Did I do some research? Did I educate my mind a little bit on something? Yes, I did. I could probably do a little bit more in my intellectual thought processes. Maybe that's language. Maybe that's my Diné language. I could have used a little bit more of that, and Diné language could fit in a little bit more. It could fit in spiritual and it could fit in social, because I want to learn my language. So I'm going to put that in intellectual. Did I learn any today? I spoke some of it today. So that's pretty good. Emotional. How am I doing emotionally? This is sometimes a really hard area to talk about. Do I have a knot in my throat? Do I have some aches and pains in my shoulders and my back? Am I feeling it in my physical being? Because you can feel that emotional stress in your physical being. Am I easy to cry? Am I tired? What does that look like? Because those kind of go hand in hand, right? Emotionally, I would say I'm okay. I've been thinking about some things. Like they're kind of getting me down a little bit, but I know everything will be okay. So I think if I write those down, my emotions and what I was thinking, I think I'll be okay. Financials. I know stress can come from financials. It's just part of, living the life, right? So how am I doing financially? I did okay today. Did I spend a lot of money? I think I did all right. Yeah, I think I did okay. Do I need to plan out my week for my financials? Yes. So I probably should sit down and write down like a little budget for the week, right? Environmentally. This is an interesting one because there's so many different perspectives on this. Environmentally, I'm living here, right? Is this a good environment? I'm living with my daughters. Yes. Am I safe? Yes. Do I have the ability to do the things I need to do? Yes. Am I sleeping in a good, comfortable place? Yes. Right. Some individuals might not have the same luxury. They might have to sleep on, Auntie's couch, or, they might have to go to the hotel for a couple of days. So how am I going to look at creating a safer environment for myself? That can also take into consideration, if there's toxic, waters, or maybe, some individuals have lived by uranium mines. What does that look like? And what is my environment? Is it hindering my health? Is that causing me to not fulfill some of these other areas of my life? Is it causing me to have physical reactions? Is it causing me to have some cognitive issues? So, taking all these into consideration. So that's kind of why I like to use the basketball, because it's comprised of 8 different parts and it's divided by those lines. And that all of those 8 parts makes one whole, right? It makes up who you are. And so I don't have access to the whiteboard, so I'm going to just go through each one and we can talk about, what's a positive and what's a negative, and an area that you need to work on. And we'll just kind of just popcorn it out, just throw it out there. So we'll go through occupational, your job situation. What does that look like? I know you're all in school, so that's actually, working on educating your mind to fulfill a greater position, right? Some sort of position that you're striving for. So that's good. That's a plus. Some of you might be looking for a job because you need to fulfill some financial obligations, right? So occupational, how many of you feel that you did good in your job today? I see Erica raised her hand. Awesome. You did okay, and awesome. Megan did good. Sabina did good. Shelby did great. Misha did good today. Awesome. You all did great. Awesome. What about Bentley did good in class? Awesome. Morgan did good. Great. That's good. And then you kind of start to think about, what are some of the needs in your occupational sphere? What are some needs? Perhaps, you're working on your nursing degree and you're thinking, okay, I want to become an RN. I want to become a certain position, but I need to start fulfilling some internships or some volunteer opportunities, right? Because, when you submit your resume, they're going to go through your resume and be like, okay, this person's worked at this place and this place. Okay, she has some volunteer opportunities, some experience, and kind of familiar with the hospital and what she's doing or he's doing. And so maybe that's kind of something that you can start putting down on occupational is maybe internships or volunteer opportunities or researching your career a little bit further. That could be a good one too. It doesn't have to be so huge. It can be little steps, bite-sized steps. What about social? Social. Were you social today? Was it good and positive? Let's see. What do you all think? Was there needed improvement? It was Bentley was very social. Awesome. I had too much socializing got in the way of my work, and right, and that's one of the areas that you could put like maybe a need is, you know, maybe cut back on social time or I don't know what that looks like for you, but maybe time structuring or something. I don't know. Yes, a lot of friends need more social. I was social but not very positive, needs work. Okay. Yes. And so that's something that you can put in. So having that view of yourself of like, okay, I did this, but this needs work. And that's always a great lens to have because you're assessing yourself in every single area of your being. And that's a great quality to have, not only in describing and understanding who you are as an individual, but also to achieving where you want to be, and also to helping and assisting other individuals, right? When I do socialize, it shouldn't be centered on gossip too, which has come up a bit lately. That's a good point. And, you know, I was talking about the negative part. Was it negative? You know, gossiping is negative. You know, anger and aggression was negative. Maybe it's you notice that you sit with certain people and you know you start to experience some, I don't know, some gossiping, and you kind of take note of that and like, okay, wait, I'm getting into that a little bit too much, and I need to back off and go do something else and start creating those boundaries. We had lunch together at the office today. I didn't socialize much after work. Good. Lunch together with coworkers, lunch together with friends, with colleagues, having great conversations. Because when you have those conversations with whoever it is, auntie, uncle, grandma, mom, friends, colleagues, coworkers, you know, you talk about different things with different people, right? And when they talk, you're using different parts of your brain, and different parts of your brain are going off because it might be language. It could be, you know, what does nursing look like with youth? Or what does nursing look like and how is that different with elderly? Or, you know, there's great opportunities within the college that you're working at or you're at. There's an internship program and you would be appropriate for that. And what does that look like? And you're having that conversation. Or it's an in-depth journal about I don't know, youth and adolescents and how we are doing prevention with culture and substance use prevention, right? Like there's so many different ways that we're socializing, and it's amazing. And that's kind of why I'm talking about that. And have you had those conversations? Are you having those conversations? Are you not having those conversations? And do you need to reach out to maybe a group, or maybe get on the phone a little bit more, or find someone that you can talk to about some of the things that is going on with your life? Because having too much can cause some trouble, like you were saying. Having too little can cause some trouble as well. So finding that right amount of socialization is good for you. That's healthy. What about physical? I did bad on this one. Did you all get your physical health in? Did you eat right? Did you get water? The right amount of water? a good amount of nutrients. Actually, I did pretty good with the nutrients today. I usually like to take my green shake in the morning, and I did that today. I've been traveling, so it's been kind of hard. Got a treadmill in the living room, so I walk a lot on it every day. That's awesome. I gotta start walking a little bit more because sometimes on travel, it's just like impossible to get to do anything. And I'm usually wiped by the time 6 o'clock comes and we have to eat, and then like all of a sudden I'm prepping. Yeah. Long story short, I don't have enough time. Treadmill is awesome because we each need that walking every single day. You ran at 5 a.m. Good job, Shelby. Met your water intake for the day. That's great. Water is very important. Been slacking in the gym. I've been doing the same, but ate well today. But I got 3 days at a week. Day 2 is tomorrow. Awesome. Been slacking in the gym, ate well today, and went to the gym tomorrow. Also, well. Early morning run and intake of a protein blueberry shake. Great. I walked. Sleep. Sleep is also very important. Walk during lunch and eat healthy lunches and breakfast. Great. That's awesome. When you're not getting the right nutrients, what does it affect? It affects your physical well-being, right? Your thoughts, the way your brain is sucking up the education that you're receiving at school, right? That's affecting that. If you're not getting sleep, it's also affecting that, right? Last night, I went on travel and I came back late last night and my brain is kind of foggy, right? And I'm walking around like, okay, did I forget this? Do I have my keys? And I'm checking like 10 times because my brain is not there. And I'm like, okay, I got my keys. Okay, I got my keys. Okay, I got my keys. So it does really affect how you're functioning. So keep that in mind. Water. Are you eating healthy? Your physical well-being. Did you do exercise?
Lots of
Are
water.
you sleeping?
I usually run
Yes.
about 5 miles a day, but
Okay.
one thing I avoid is sugar and pop.
Mhm.
I usually drink
That's
those, what are they called? Bubbly, sparkling water or carbonated
Oh,
water.
yeah.
Yeah, I replace
Yes.
pop with carbonated water.
Awesome. That's very important. Those something interesting that I'm just gonna say is that the sodas, man, a lot of people don't really think about how much soda impacts your liver. But when you're drinking soda 3 times a day, it's really impacting your liver, and it's really causing your liver to become either fatty or it's really causing it to work a lot more harder, right? But if you're also drinking alcohol on top of that, can you imagine how much harder your liver is working? Just a thought that I threw out there. So just think about that. What about spiritual?
Sweats
Sweats.
and
Awesome.
pray.
Prayer.
Yeah.
Mhm. And this can be a lot more in terms of, what is your relationship with your higher power? Even if that's going out, to the water or to the trees or to the, to one of the animal beings or whatnot, and you're saying your prayers and you're talking and having that conversation. Or you're going to Bible study, yes. Or you're sitting down and you're reading the Bible and you're having that time and you're taking out that couple of minutes for meditation, yes. It can look a lot different with a lot of different individuals because we all practice different ways, right? And so those are all great, awesome areas that you can start to think about when you're looking at spiritual. Maybe some of you need to think about this area a little more. Daily devotionals, awesome. Maybe that's thinking about, You know, what is my relationship with my higher power? Or is this an area that I'm actively working on? Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not time for you to think about that area and you don't feel like you should think about that area because some individuals don't believe in a higher power, right? We have to be inclusive of those individuals. And so if that's not on the list, maybe you start, just put in something there. I won't tell you what to put there, but just kind of start thinking about it. Awesome. And then intellectual, like I said, you all are at school, you're learning, but are you applying yourself the way you want to apply yourself? Are you like the individual saying, social hour got a little bit too long. Do I need to look back on my time management and say, okay, we got to create some boundaries here. We can't have social hour from 1 to 4. We got to get to work, So what does that look like to you? Or is it, oh, I'm going to watch a movie 2 hours later. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I didn't even study for my quiz, Or I'll do that later. Man, I had a bad habit of saying, oh, I'll do it later. I'm going to go have lunch with my sister. I can do that this evening, an hour before my quiz is done, or hour before my quiz is due, I'll get it done. And that creates stress, right? It does create stress. So I'll let that one, we can just let that, started your job in June. I'm not enrolled in college classes. I also attended training for my job twice a week. Nice. That's awesome. I prayed a lot today. My community is hurting. Oh, prayers for your community. Oh man. I know when those requests come in, it can be tough to deal with. And saying the prayer for your community can absolutely be put in that spiritual part of you, your spiritual assessment.
One book that's really helpful and actually really helped me get in touch with my feelings, being able to express my feelings. It's a book I like to read sometimes when I feel like I'm going off track, or if I feel like or if I'm getting depressed, if I feel myself getting low, it's called the 4 Agreements. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a really good book, and
can you put that in the chat?
It's a good read for sure. Yeah, I'll put it in there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. If you have any recommendations for books or websites that are helpful for what we're talking about, feel free to share those. I'm sure one of us could use or find that helpful. Okay. Emotional. Did you have some good? Do you need to work on it? I shared mine earlier. I think it was okay. I did okay with my emotionals, understanding that there is something there and I might want to work on it, getting those jotted down. How am I coping with it? I won't have you share too much on that one. Financial, I won't have you share too much. 4 Agreements by Don Miguel was awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Stacy. Alicia, I cried a lot today, and that's okay. Crying is okay. A lot of the times that we've been scolded and said, you don't cry, stop crying, And I talked to a couple of elders who were saying, the reason why we have that implemented by our parents today is because not only was it boarding school saying, you're going to stop your crying or else you're going to get smacked, or something worse. It was also used when, we were on long walks and there was no time for crying, right? You had to suck it up and get moving because something would bad happen to you if you're standing there crying, right? And so we kind of have to think about the historical implications of some of these teachings that we have today that are saying, stop crying. And the work that we did, there was a lot of times that we said, it's okay to cry because that's Creator gave us tears for a reason, right? And we use them at a certain time. So yeah, played pool with friends, awesome. I just had a studying day and I'm grateful for this break. My brain is fried. I bet. Well, let's see. Environmental. Maybe there's a need for change in environment or improvement of your environment. This can also take into consideration like clutter, that is greatly linked to your mental health. Do I have a lot of clutter in my house? That's also a health hazard. And how do I start to look at it and get it organized so that my thoughts in Diné, like if your house is organized and you have it in a good way, your thoughts will have it, your thoughts will become good and you're able to move through your life. My brain is full. It's been a long day. Oh, I bet. So think about that one. Let it marinate in your mind. Take a couple of thoughts about that. But yeah, really look at your environment. Is it helpful in your day-to-day life? Is it helping you when you get up? Are you able to find things quickly? Do you have a routine set up? Or what does that look like? Okay, so thank you for sharing all of your self-assessment thoughts. I'm going to move into the next piece, which is self-care. Self-care is so awesome. So we have positive self-care and we have negative self-care, right? Sorry, I'm going to Google this real quick because I need to find something. So can somebody give me an example of self-care?
Ooh, sometimes I binge eat.
You binge
Sometimes,
eat?
yeah, I just go to town. I don't stop eating. I just eat
Yeah.
so much. I get into that little mood. And I'm like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Just gonna sit here and eat. I'm gonna get some ice cream. I'm gonna get some brownies. I'm gonna throw my brownies in my ice cream. I have those days. Those. But
Mm-hmm.
whenever it comes to me running again, I'm like, I'm feeling it, burning it all off. But those are my negative times whenever I treat my body rough.
Mm-hmm.
Just binge eat.
Yeah, and that can be a coping skill, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
you said you were feeling it, right? You're feeling it. You're
So
feeling
now I'm just
something,
gonna
right?
go to town.
Right? And then so when you're feeling it, I do the same thing. I tend to run to cake or pies, something sweet, right? And I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna have a slice. It turns into 3 slices, right? 3 slices later, and
I
you're like,
always tell
okay.
myself when I'm doing it, I'm like, oh man, it feels so crazy right now, but I'm doing it anyway.
Right. And then after I'm done, I think to myself, why did I do that? Why did I eat so many sweet things when it's really not good for me, but it tastes so good and I'm satisfying something. And what is that? So I'll sit there, at the end of my day, I'll sit down and I'll think, what really was bothering me that day, or today, what was coming up? Usually I'm able to pinpoint it and be like, okay, yes, that was what it was. Because I remembered my brother, because I remembered what he did. And I remembered what he said. Right? And it made me grief stricken in that moment. But what I did was I wrapped it up and I tucked it back down in here. And I was like, okay, I'll save that for later because now is not the time for me to have tears, right? Or now is not the time for me to experience those emotions. So what did I do? I went back home in my private setting and something was bothering me, and I had that pie and I had that cake. And that's a coping skill. I coped with that through food. And that could be a major for people and individuals who don't know how to stop.
Right, right.
Yes. And so what is my positive coping skill? I could have went to the gym. I could have ran it off and been like, okay, I was thinking about my brother. I can't do anything about it. You know, he's the spirit. He's, you know, he's good. But, you know, it's my grief. I got to go take care of it. So I'm going to go run and go do some exercise. I'm going to go sweat it out. And then when I'm done, I feel really good. I'll be like, yes, okay, I'm so happy I did that, because now I feel like I can conquer tomorrow and I can go forward, right? So you got to really be careful of, you know, what you're considering a coping skill and self-care. Because yes, we want to take care of ourselves, and that could be a reward. It's like, oh, I did all of this good stuff, and now I deserve this Sunday, right? But on the other hand, it's like, oh, I've been feeling all these feelings, so I'm going to go eat something that makes me feel good, right? So that's a coping skill. But self-care is really, how are we caring for ourselves? How am I caring for myself? And this little image here is a self-care plan. If you have like a regular sheet of paper, you can just divide it into 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. And you can put all of those little areas, you know, the body, the mind, or the 8 areas that we talked about earlier, intellectual, spiritual, physical, social, financial, environmental, occupational. You can put all of those in those areas, and you can start to create goals and a timeline. So this is basically setting up a plan for how you're going to create a healthy lifestyle, because you are important, right? A lot of the times when talking with Indigenous peoples, Indigenous youth, parents, especially parents and families, you know, we're not quick to say I'm important, right? Oftentimes that's the last thing on our mind, right? So I want you to do a little exercise. I want you to close your eyes and put your hand on your chest and say, I am important. Say it 4 times. I am important. I am important. I am important. And sometimes that might bring you to tears because you've never said that before, right? We've never acknowledged that, yes, we are important. Yes, we have the ability, we have the choice to make good decisions. We don't have to live a life that's, you know, negative or binging or whatnot. You have the ability and the choice to shape your life. A lot of the times I talk about choice because, you know, growing up, whether you were, you know, experiencing some of the boarding schools or forced to be in a specific location, you didn't have a choice. You were told by boarding school or dorm aides that, you know, you had to get up at a certain time, get in the shower, brush your teeth, wash your face. You know, you had to abide by all these rules. You go to school from 8 to 2. You walk home or walk back to the dorm. You start your chores before you do anything else, right? And so when it comes to us, it's like choice. When you get out into the real world, we have a choice to do whatever we want. And that's very powerful. You have a choice, and you were given a choice to do something with your life that your ancestors were not, right? And so I get really emotional when I talk about choice, because it's like, man, we have the ability to shape our own lives. We have the ability to become whoever we want. We have the ability to raise our children how we want to raise them in our own homes, right? And so that always, it always hits me really hard when I say the word choice. So the self-care plan is your choice to create a healthy and happy life and to be well overall, basically. So divide your paper into those quadrants. I'm going to type those quadrants into the chat, and you can start to fill in, what are your goals for each of those areas? What are your occupational goals? What do I hope to see? What job do I hope to land? Or what internship do I hope to land? Or is there a volunteer opportunity or a scholarship that I can apply for? Social. Do I need to be more social? Do I need to talk to my auntie a little more? Do I need to, I want to, ask my grandpa a little more questions about what he experienced in the military, or I need to call that friend I haven't talked to in a long time. I'm wondering how she's doing. Or do I need to ask more questions in class? Physical. What does that look like? Do I need to do a little more of this or that? Spiritual, intellectual. Sorry, I'm having some spelling challenges. Emotional. Do I need to see a therapist? Am I stuffing stuff back down that I really need to talk about? Do I need to see a grief counselor? Am I crying excessively, like 3 times a week, and I'm really down all the time? Do I need to see and seek out someone that will help me with that? Or am I getting so anxious that I don't want to go outside? I don't want to talk to nobody. I just want to stay in my room. I don't even want to go to class. Is that becoming an issue? Some of those are some of the emotional areas. Or am I becoming so angry that I'm lashing out at everyone, like my kids and my partner and my mom and my sister, and I'm just like, off the chain all the time, like, calm down. Do you need to see someone about that? Financial. I know we have financial situations. Sometimes we are limited. Are there resources out there that we need to tap into? Could those be food assistance? Could those be rental assistance? Living as a student is hard, yes. Financially, it's super hard, right? And so are there some programs that I need to go talk to someone, maybe do some research, maybe talk to Native American Student Services to see if there's anything out there that'll help me out, or maybe a part-time job I can have with the college, jotting those down. That might be something you need to do. Okay, and I'm gonna put those in the chat. Sorry, it took so long explaining those. Environmental, like I said, clutter, do I need to clean? Do I need to organize? What does that look like? So take some time to write down some of your goals. And then perhaps you can write down some activities and timelines. I like to do weekly timelines and say, for this week, these are the things that I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on drinking more water this week. I'm going to focus on at least walking, what's today? Tuesday. For the rest of the week. I'm going to sit down and read a book. I'm going to research some colleges or I'm going to research a job. And then I need to organize because my house is a mess. I just got back from travel. So I know it's probably late where you're at, and again, it's okay to say no more. That's your self-care. So we will move into talking about, I'll give you a few more minutes. I don't want to rush you guys. One more minute. Sometimes I write these in my calendar on my phone. I'll just type it in, just a little reminder, like a list on Monday. I always like to use my phone. I love journals. I'll buy like 10 different journals, 10 different notebooks. And then I write, like, I'll write in one, and then they're just like everywhere. And I'm like, okay, that's not gonna work. So my phone keeps me sane. All right, so you can take this, you can take a screenshot of it, you can research some on, you can Google self-care plans, and a lot of them will come up. Whatever is helpful for you, you can draw it in a circle and write all those self-care, those different spheres in there, and then you can write in what you need to work on. You can do a lot of different ways. You can color code them. You can write, you can draw little animated things in there. I like to do that. Or you can work on one each day of the week. You just put one day, Sunday through Saturday. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I will let you all wrap that up, and we will move into the next portion. And we're going to talk about good medicine. And before I do that, I want to share with you, I'm sure some of you have heard this song, but I feel like it just sets the tone for a lot of different things. If you need more definition on the 8 dimensions of wellness, I'm gonna copy and paste this in the chat. This is really helpful to help you understand, what exactly are we talking about a little more in depth. And that just breaks it down even more. So if you need that, take a look at it. I want to play this song by Superman, Know Better, Do Better. So I'm going to share this. Share my screen. Okay, share.
To all my people around the world, across the block, Kaheb, Leger, where I get my chala. Who reporting live from the universe? It's the First Nations MC. You could do the search. Who been through the worst? Surviving genocide, fighting for a better life. They try to set aside the true history and keep us mystical. They say they founded this country on biblical principles. It's so cynical, but I'm an analyst. It's murderous. They refer to us as merciless. Indian savages.
Sorry, it was supposed to start at a certain time. Let me restart that. Okay.
Peace to all my people around the world, across the block. Kaheb, Leger, where I get my chala. Who reporting live from the universe? It's the First Nations MC. You could do the search. Who been through the worst? Surviving genocide, fighting for a better life. They try to set aside the true history and keep us mystical. They say they founded this country on biblical principles. It's so cynical, but I'm an analyst. It's murderous. They refer to us as merciless. Indian savages. Now that's written in the Declaration of Independence. That's no kidding. Hey, open up your heart and let love lead the way. Light your path with the words that I speak today. Let the lessons flow, arrive and bless your soul. Systematic racism alive, intentional. Know better, do better, it's the motto. It's the good medicine, the hard pill to swallow. Know better, do better, it's the motto. It's the good medicine, the hard pill to swallow.
His daily life was filled with ceremony, and every act had some significance. The Indians believed in the spiritual, the mysterious.
So going into this a little bit more, he talks about good medicine, and there's a lot of discussion about the Bible and the Catholic and Christian ways that were brought into reservations, and our people were treated a certain way. And yes, I understand that, but through time, a lot of us have assimilated to these teachings. And so, got to be mindful of those relatives who do practice, Catholicism or Christianity. So, just keep that in mind when we're talking with each other and amongst one another, that we still got to be respectful of those individuals who practice in a way that's different from ours. So just keep that in mind. But good medicine, when you talk about good medicine, what is our good medicine? Because we talked about, a lot of the times we have different struggles and different barriers that come across our paths, right? And we got to cope with these. We got to look at ourselves. We got to keep assessing ourselves and figuring out, how do I improve myself? How do I not turn to drugs and alcohol or depression or anxiety or suicidal thoughts or binge eating or using different substances to numb my pain, right? And I use that song because it's a good thought process. It's a good way, it's a good anthem, I guess, for us. It's a good anthem for us to keep in mind when we're talking about improving ourselves. All right, Erica, good night. I know you have to tend to your children. Thank you for being here. So write in the chat, what is your medicine? What is your medicine that helps you to know better and do better? You know better, you should do better, right? What is your good medicine? That's a tough one for me. What is my medicine? If you want to come off mute, you're welcome to come off mute. What keeps you on the red road, or what keeps you on the corn pollen road? What keeps you sane and connected? I would say mine, I think, is prayer. Praying, whether that's to the water or to our sacred mountains or in the morning. Prayer is a big one in my life. Life, Bentley. Life in general, right? Life. Laughter, yes. Laughter is good medicine. My children, my family, I agree. Belief in a higher power and my faith. All excellent examples of good medicine. And this is what really helps you stay on that self-care plan, right? Like they say, I guess you could call the red road self-care plan, corn pollen road self-care plan. But a lot of the times it's embedded in our ceremonies, right? A lot of the time, we have certain protocols and roles that we take into ceremonial or family setting. And so when you talk about our culture and our traditional ways, that all of this is already taught. It's implemented in the teachings. It's implemented in, our discussions, our stories. So if you really go back and you start thinking about some of your stories or the way you relate to each other, a lot of these teachings are implemented. All of these 8 dimensions are put in there. And that's not just by coincidence, and that's not just by white man's way saying that, oh yeah, this is the way you do it. No, we've known this for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Generations ago, it was taught. And so this is really good information, and I hope you all got a chance to gain something from this discussion. I know self-care is very important, but your mental health is very important. And I want you to know that, you know, a lot of us have hard times. We deal with depression, we deal with anxiety, we deal with very difficult situations that come in our life. And I want you to know that you're not alone in any of that. And if by any chance, you know, you're experiencing something like that, feel free to reach out to your coach there at American Indian College Fund, or someone that you can trust who is nearby to you, who you can confide in, and they will help you. There's always someone who is willing to have a helping hand. I know, like Stacy was saying, you know, there's a lot of us that are here to help, and we're put on this earth to help other relatives. And so keep that in mind. There's also your local IHS counselors and urgent cares clinics. There's also the 988 number. It used to be the 1-800 number, but now you can just go on your phone and dial 988, and it'll connect you right to the suicide prevention hotline, and you can talk to them, or you can text 411 to home, and you can just sit there and text them. What is it you're experiencing? What is causing you to have these hopeless and so dark thoughts? And when you get there, please reach out to someone and have that conversation. We work across the nation, me and my colleagues, and we talk about suicide prevention a lot of the time. And a person can be extremely happy and they can be extremely sad. We just don't know what you're living with, but what you can do is reach out to someone. And so let me read what's in the chat. The 8 dimensions is awesome. I'm grateful to have this to focus on daily now. Awesome. I'm glad that can be of assistance. Well, I am hoping that you all had a great evening, and I know this will be recorded and available for you to watch again on YouTube whenever American Indian College Fund will have it available. But I know they're going to be sending out a survey, and let me reach out to your coach and have her come back on Loyola. Is there any other good medicine? I know some individuals have to jump off, but I do like the humor. I was listening to, they have a Netflix comic radio station on satellite radio. Oh my goodness, had me laughing all day long. It's funny. Sage is good. Yes, to smudge yourself off. That is very good. I had to do that today too, because I was at a restaurant today and at lunch, and a lady, she was an elderly lady, and she fell like right in front of me. That was really interesting, and I was like, this is kind of unusual. So came back and sage, because that was interesting. Said a prayer for her too, because I don't know what happened to her. I have to study for my biology test, so have a great night and good week, everyone. Yes, thank you, Brentley, for being here. I appreciate you. Loyola will be coming on and joining us here any minute now. And we will end today. But if you all want to hop off, you're welcome to hop off. I know it's late for some of you all. I really appreciate you all being here, and know that each one of you are worthy and you are important. So if you all want to just end right now, you are welcome to go. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you. Bye.